I've always carried a sketchbook no matter where I went. And last summer, when we were on a cruise in, let's say, the North Sea, on a Viking cruise ship, in the library, I found this book. Interesting about the library there, almost all the books were about explorers. And this is called Explorer Sketchbook, The Art of Discovery and Adventure. This is quite an interesting book, edited by Hugh Lewis Jones and Carrie Herbert. Inside, some of the artist adventurers are represented. Perhaps none is better known than John James Audubon. He was born Jean-Jacques Laforest Audubon in Santo Domingo and came to the United States in 1803 to avoid being drafted into Napoleon's army. He worked on his family farm in Pennsylvania before he began his quest to paint a picture of every Native American bird. And he painted pictures of over 1,000. 1,065 were printed with the birds' images full size. Audubon died worn out and neglected, and his contributions as a naturalist and artist weren't fully realized until after his death. The Englishman Thomas Baines, born in the early 1800s, was rarely seen without his pencil and sketchbook. The likable fellow with a limp had a successful portrait studio, but was a born adventurer. He would eventually join David Livingstone's expedition up the Zambezi River in Africa. Unfortunately, he was accused of theft as a storemaster artist and was dismissed from the expedition. He continued joining African expeditions and eventually obtained mining rights to some gold fields in Africa. It was in the gold fields that he contracted dysentery and died. Baines' beautiful watercolors are studied even today. Now, Ludwig Becker was born and trained in Germany, but at the age of 52 he found himself in Australia and attempted to join the 1860 Victoria Exploring Expedition. But he was able to join the expedition due to his connections and skills as an artist. Unfortunately, Becker was saddled with many other duties that seriously interfered with his artistic endeavors. The exhibition was extremely problem-prone, including squabbles among the leadership. Becker did not survive the expedition, but did leave considerable artwork chronicling the Victoria Exploring Expedition. The American William Beebe knew at an early age that he would spend his life as a naturalist. After serving as director of tropical research at the New York Zoological Society, Beebe turned to the sea for the next area to explore. In 1934, he and Otis Burton descended to the depth of 3,028 feet off the coast of Bermuda. Beebe described what he saw to people ashore and indeed to the nation via telephone and radio. He dictated his observations of aquatic creatures to artist Elise Bosselman. Bosselman created accurate renderings of what Beebe saw. Later, Beebe would study aquatic life in the shallow depths off the Pacific coast of the Americas. If there is ever a list of the world's greatest woman adventurers, the list would surely include Margaret Fountain. Fountain left England at the age of 29 with a broken heart and a yearn for adventure. An uncle had provided for her independent means of survival. In Switzerland, Fountain found the desire to study butterflies, and over the rest of her life she would study all aspects of the colorful creatures' lives. She had several unfortunate love affairs before marrying a Syrian with whom she spent 30 years. Always an active woman, at age 78 she was still an active horsewoman. After her death, her sketchbooks and journals were discovered, along with display cases containing some 22,000 butterfly specimens. Explorers have always sought the new and unexplored. Normally, such explorations are confined to terra firma. But in the case of Ellen Bean, the area of exploration was the moon. As an astronaut, Bean was one of the select few to walk on the surface of the moon. He had studied painting while in test pilot school. However, regardless of his skill level, it was impossible to paint in a weightless environment. But Bean persevered and based his acrylic paintings on sketches and photographs taken on the moon. The large paintings frequently have moon dust embedded in the painting medium. As a girl, Margaret Meech was encouraged by her aunt in art. During the First World War, she worked as a draftswoman in an aircraft factory. After the war, she studied art in London. At age 47, she packed her clothes, art materials, and a revolver in a canvas rucksack and traveled to Brazil. Often, she went into the jungle alone to study the plants. In doing so, she was shipwrecked a number of times, almost died from malaria, hepatitis, and starvation, and held off drunken prospectors with a revolver. Unfortunately, she was killed in an automobile accident en route to a showing of her paintings at Kew Gardens. She was 78. In the late 1600s, Maria Siblamarin was collecting bugs and other insects. Of course, at that point in time, people believed that such creatures as insects were the creation of demons and devils. Witches were being burned at the stake. But Maria survived and became a botanical illustrator in Amsterdam. She was said to have painted illustrations of the specimens of insects and plants brought back from the New World. She tired of these dried up and damaged specimens and set out to see the New World herself. At the age of 52, she sailed for the Dutch colony of Suriname on the northern coast of South America with her two daughters. The tropical forests were replete with flora and fauna new to her. She returned to the Netherlands to publish her book, Metamorphosis Insectorum Surinamensium, which depicted the life cycle of insects and plants, never before described or drawn. These were the people who left their homes to seek adventure and recorded it in pictures and words. To some, it was about science and the natural world, but to others, it was about exploring a land never seen before. It is no surprise that most of these artist adventurers lived in the 19th century, a time before photography became the most common way to capture the visual image. This book brings those people to life with reproductions of their art and writings, with biographical briefs and interesting anecdotes.